You know, some bikes just shouldn't exist, and yet people still buy them. Whether it's because they got sucked into the hype, thought they were getting a great deal, or just didn't know better, there are motorcycles out there that will ruin your wallet and your riding experience faster than you could say, bad decision. Today we're diving headfirst into the bikes you'd have to be out of your mind to buy. Whether they're unreliable, overpriced, or flat-out disasters on two wheels. If you've ever looked at one of these and thought, maybe I'll give it a shot, don't. Just don't. So sit back, grab a coffee, and let's talk about the motorcycles that'll leave you broke, frustrated, and wondering why you didn't listen to that one biker buddy who told you to stay away. Let's get started. Number 1. Honda Fury. The chopper that forgot it's a Honda. Alright, let's start strong with the Honda Fury, a bike that makes me shake my head every time I see someone buy it thinking they're getting a custom chopper for a steal. Look, I love Honda for making some of the most bulletproof bikes out there, but when they tried to dip their toes into the chopper scene with this thing, yeah, they missed. First off, it's a chopper that isn't a chopper. Sure, it looks stretched out with that raked front end, but it's still a mass-produced Honda at heart. And that wouldn't be a problem if they didn't slap a $10,000 plus price tag on it. You can get a real deal used custom chopper or a more versatile cruiser for that kind of cash. Second, let's talk performance. You'd expect a bike that looks like a beast to ride like one, right? Nope. It's got a 1312cc V-twin that makes just enough power to get out of its own way. No real punch, no thrill, just looks. Handling? Forget it. That ridiculous rake makes corners a nightmare. It feels like you're wrestling a telephone pole. And good luck on long trips. That tiny tank will have you stopping to fill up every hour. So, if you want to pay Harley prices for a fake chopper that handles like a boat and rides like a couch, go ahead. But if you want something with real soul or real performance, look somewhere else. Number 2. Harley-Davidson Pan America, the adventure bike identity crisis. Alright, brace yourself. Let's talk about the Harley-Davidson Pan America. Yeah, I know it has its fans. But if you think this is Harley's magical ticket into the adventure bike world, think again. First off, props to Harley for trying something different. But here's the deal. This is a bike built for ADV riders by a company that doesn't really understand ADV riders. It weighs over 560 pounds wet, and while that's not terrible for a big ADV bike, it's top-heavy as hell. Try muscling this thing on a trail or even loose gravel. It's a nightmare. And sure, it's got a powerful Revolution Max engine pumping out over 150 horsepower, but all that power doesn't help when you're picking it up off the dirt for the third time because it just doesn't handle low-speed technical stuff well. But here's the worst part. The price. You're dropping north of 20 grand by the time you get decent bags and protection. And for that kind of money, you could buy a BMW R1250 GS or a KTM 1290 Super Adventure, both of which are proven, loaded with better tech, and have a global dealer network to back you up when something breaks. Because let's be real, on an ADV bike, something will break. So yeah, if you're buying the Pan America because it's a Harley and you want to try adventure riding, you're in for an expensive lesson. Number 3. CFMoto 300SS. Cheap for a reason. Now let's talk about a bike that's been making waves for being cheap, the CFMoto 300SS. Some folks will see the price tag and think, hey, what a deal. But listen, there's a reason these things are so cheap. First off, CFMoto is still a newcomer in a world where reputation matters. Sure, they've partnered with KTM for some parts and tech, but that doesn't mean they've figured it all out. Build quality is a gamble. I've heard about electrical issues, cheap plastics, paint that fades like crazy, and parts that wear way faster than they should. Performance-wise, it's not horrible for a 300cc, but if you think you're getting a real sport bike, you'll be disappointed. It makes 27 horsepower, and with that tiny engine, you're going to get left behind by anything over 400cc. And trust me, when you want to pass someone or climb on a hill, you'll wish you had more. But what really gets me is the long-term gamble. You might save money up front, but good luck finding parts when something breaks. And don't count on the dealer. Their network isn't as strong as Yamaha, Kawasaki, or Honda. So yeah, if you want a throwaway bike for a year, maybe. But if you want something to last, spend a little more and get a proven Ninja 400 or R3. You'll thank me later. Number 4. Benelli TNT600. All flash, no substance. Let's talk about the Benelli TNT600, a bike that looks like it could rip the road in half, but rides like a heavy scooter with a bad attitude. First of all, Benelli is not what it used to be. The Italian name has been bought out and now produces bikes that look sharp but feel cheap up close. The TNT600 is the perfect example. Yeah, it's a 4-cylinder and you'd think that makes it fast. But it's a pig at almost 500 pounds and barely puts out 80 horsepower. For a 600, that's embarrassing. You'd expect this thing to keep up with a Yamaha R6 or a Kawasaki Z650, but you'd be wrong. The weight, the sluggish throttle response, and questionable suspension make it feel like a budget bike pretending to be something it's not. And let's not forget reliability. Finding parts is a nightmare. Good luck getting it serviced unless you live near one of their rare dealers. And if it breaks, you're waiting months for parts to arrive, if they do at all. People buy the TNT 600 because it's a cheap 4-cylinder. But this is a classic case of get what you pay for. You want a real middleweight? Get a used FZ07, SV650, or even a Z650. They'll run circles around this thing and won't leave you stranded. So yeah, don't be fooled by the looks. This is a poser bike all the way. Number 5. Kawasaki Vulcan S. The cruiser doesn't know what it is. Alright, time to tackle the Kawasaki Vulcan S, a bike that seems confused about what it wants to be. Is it a cruiser, a sport bike, a naked bike? Nobody knows, including Kawasaki. First off, let's talk about the engine. It's a parallel twin ripped straight out of a Ninja 650, which sounds cool until you realize it doesn't fit the cruiser vibe at all. It's buzzy, it doesn't rumble, and it feels weird trying to ride relaxed when the engine wants to rev to the moon. The ergonomics? Yeah, they let you custom fit the seat and pegs, but that doesn't change the fact that it feels awkward no matter how you adjust it. Low seat but high pegs? Forward controls, but sport bike engine. Pick a lane, Kawasaki. And for a bike that's supposed to be beginner-friendly, the weight isn't helping. At almost 500 pounds, it feels heavier than it should, and the suspension is basic at best. So rough roads, you'll feel every bump. People buy it thinking it's a cool first cruiser, but let me tell you, there are way better options for the same money. You want a real cruiser? Look at a Rebel 500 or an older Shadow. Want sporty? Get a Ninja or MT-07. The Vulcan S is a weird in-betweener, and in motorcycles, that's a bad place to be. Number 6. Hyosung GT650, the budget SV650 you'll regret. Now let's talk about the Hyosung GT650, the bike people buy thinking they're getting a bargain version of the Suzuki SV650. Spoiler alert, you're not. First off, yeah, it looks like an SV. Twin cylinder, naked style, kinda sporty. That's where the similarities end. The build quality on a Hyosung isn't even the same league. These things are notorious for cheap builds, sloppy welds, and electronics that'll leave you pulling your hair out. And don't even get me started on the reliability. You think you're saving a few bucks up front? Wait until parts start failing. And good luck finding replacement parts. There are barely any dealers left, and even fewer mechanics who know what to do with one. Performance-wise, it's underwhelming. On paper, it's supposed to compete with the SV650, but the engine is rough, the throttle response is jerky, and the suspension is soft and unpredictable. You'll go into a corner thinking you're on rails and halfway through, realize you're on spaghetti. A lot of folks get drawn in by the price, but this is one of those cases where cheap is expensive. Because once you start fixing all the things that break, or realizing you can't get parts, you'll wish you had just spent a little more on a used SV650 or MT-07 and had gotten a proper middleweight bike. So unless you love frustration and waiting months for parts from who knows where, skip the Hyosung. It's a money pit disguised as a bargain. Number 7. Bimota BB3. Boutique Nightmare. Let me throw in a boutique brand for those thinking of being fancy, the Bimota BB3. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but Bimota makes exotic Italian superbikes. Yeah, they do. And that's exactly the problem. First, let's talk about what you're actually buying. Sure, you'll get a beautiful frame, custom parts, and a BMW S1000RR engine stuffed inside. Sounds great, right? Until you realize you're paying double the price for a less functional S1000RR. Why? Because when you're buying Bimota, you're buying headaches. Parts? Forget about it. Good luck getting spares unless you live next door to the factory. Need service? Hope you're best friends with a mechanic who's willing to take on a puzzle. But here's the kicker. Despite the exotic looks, this thing doesn't ride as well as the bike it borrows its heart from. The suspension is stiff in all the wrong ways. The electronics package is a step behind what BMW offers stock. And if something goes wrong, you can't just drop it off at a BMW dealership and call it a day. People buy Bimota for the wow factor. But if you want a bike you can actually enjoy without constant stress, stick to the S1000RR and leave the boutique heartbreak for someone else. Unless you want to spend your life explaining to people why you can't get parts for your $50,000 bike, this is one to avoid. Number 8. Triumph Rocket 3. Because bigger isn't always better. Now, don't get me wrong, the Triumph Rocket is a cool bike. It's got a 2.5-liter triple-cylinder monster of an engine and enough torque to pull a house down. But let me tell you, it's a dumb buy for most riders. First of all, it's absurdly heavy, around 700 pounds. You'd better be ready to handle that kind of weight, especially at low speeds. Once that thing starts tipping, good luck saving it. Second, let's talk about why people buy it. A lot of folks think bigger engine equals better bike. You don't need a 2.5-liter engine to cruise around town. It's overkill, plain and simple. You'll spend more time wrestling it in parking lots and worry about dropping it than enjoying the ride. And let's be real, maintenance on that beast is no joke. Giant engine, specialized parts, and expensive tires that wear fast because of the bike's weight. So unless you're made of money and ready to ride a land yacht every day, this isn't a smart choice. If you want a big, powerful cruiser that still makes sense, go for a Harley Road Glide or an Indian Challenger. You'll get plenty of muscle without the circus. Rocket 3? Cool to look at, dumb to buy. Unless you really know what you're getting in. Number 9. Ducati Diavel. The price of different. Next up, the Ducati Diavel. A bike people love because it looks like nothing else. But let me tell you, there's a reason why nobody else makes something like this. First off, it's a cruiser that doesn't cruise well and a sport bike that doesn't sport well. It's like Ducati tried to make a muscle bike, but ended up with a weird compromise that doesn't excel at anything. Heavy and awkward at low speeds, with a riding position that looks cool but gets uncomfortable fast. And if you think a V-twin Ducati engine means reliability, you haven't owned a Ducati. These things require maintenance like a high-end Italian sports car, and guess what? Ducati service isn't cheap. Oh, and tires? You'll be burning through those fat rear tires quicker than your wallet can handle. Parts and repairs? Take a number and hope it arrives before next season. People buy the Diavel to be different, but if you want a bike that works, there are plenty of better choices. You want a power cruiser? Get a Yamaha VMAX or a Harley Fat Bob. Want sporty and naked? A Z1000 or an MT10 will smoke the Diavel without emptying your bank account on valve adjustments. So yeah, it looks like a beast, but riding and owning it, that's a whole other story. Number 10. SSR Rascal 125. The Grom clone nobody asked for. Alright, to wrap it up, the SSR Rascal 125. This thing is a straight-up knockoff of the Honda Grom. And let me tell you, you don't want to go cheap when it comes to mini bikes. Sure, people see the price, a couple grand cheaper than a Grom, and think they're getting a deal. But here's what you're really buying. Shaky welds, bad electronics, and an engine that might or might not make it past a few months of riding. Parts? Forget it. You're not finding SSR parts at your local dealer. You're digging through online sellers hoping someone still stocks them. And when something breaks, and it will, you'll realize you saved nothing because you'll be stuck either paying big for rare parts or replacing the whole bike. Even stock, these things ride poorly. The suspension's a joke, brakes are mushy, and the throttle response is like asking permission every time you twist the grip. If you want a fun little bike to mess around with, buy a used Grom or a Z125. They hold value, they work, and when you drop them, and you will, you can fix them easily. Rascal? More like Money Pit. Number 11. Yamaha Bolt. The Harley alternative that isn't. Some folks look at the Yamaha Bolt and think, hey, I'll get a Harley look without the Harley price. But let me tell you, this bike is not the deal people think it is. First of all, it's a 950cc air-cooled V-twin, so you'd expect a decent amount of torque, right? But it feels sluggish for a near-liter bike. People buy it hoping for a torquey cruiser that rumbles, but instead, they get a bike that feels like it's holding back. Handling? It's heavy and low, but doesn't have that planted, solid feel you'd expect from a cruiser. Corners feel like a chore, and the suspension is just plain brutal. Unless you're riding on glass-smooth roads, your back will hate you after every ride. What really bugs me is people think it's a budget alternative to a Sportster. But guess what? You're still spending close to $9,000 on a new one. And by the time you upgrade pipes, seats, suspension, you're at Harley money, but without the resale value. If you want a cheap cruiser that actually feels good to ride, buy a used Vulcan 900 or a Shadow 750. They'll give you that classic cruiser feel without the Bolt's weird mix of cheap parts and high price tag. So yeah, the Bolt looks good on Instagram, but on the road, you'll wish you picked something else. Number 12. Suzuki Boulevard C50. The middleweight cruiser nobody asked for. Now let's talk about the Suzuki Boulevard C50, a bike that somehow keeps selling even though there are better options everywhere. First off, this is an 805cc V-twin that should be perfect for a middleweight cruiser, right? Here's the problem. Feels heavier than it should and underpowered for what it is. It weighs over 600 pounds, and with only 50 horsepower, it's a slug. People pick this bike because it looks like a classic cruiser, but once you ride it, you realize how outdated it feels. The suspension is soft and wallowy, so every turn feels like you're trying to steer a canoe. And the brakes? Don't expect much. You'll need plenty of stopping room. Not ideal if someone cuts you off in traffic. But here's where it really annoys me. The C50 is often sold as a great first cruiser. But there are so many better beginner-friendly options out there that don't weigh a ton and handle like a boat. If you're after a reliable middleweight cruiser, get a Yamaha V-Star 950 or a Kawasaki Vulcan 900. Both are way more capable, modern, and comfortable. The Boulevard C50, it's like buying a flip phone in 2024. Sure, it works, but why would you? The truth is, a lot of these bikes get bought for all the wrong reasons. Hype, looks, price tags, and people don't think about the long-term pain of owning them. Whether it's insane repair costs, impossible to find parts, or handling that makes you question your life choices, these are the rides that'll teach you a lesson the hard way. Now, I want to hear from you. What's the dumbest bike you've ever bought or almost bought? What's the one motorcycle you think should have made this list? Drop a comment below and let's swap some horror stories. If you liked this, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe because I got plenty more raw advice coming your way. Ride smart, stay sharp, and keep that rubber side down.